Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to What You Gotta Say. Now, today, of course, as we know, it's the Three Wise Ones Tuesday. However, it's going to be one wise one and one novice. After the break, we'll find out which one is the wise one and which one is the novice. See you in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Hey, and welcome back. So it's the Three Wise Ones, and we're down to one. Reverend Dr. Lang is getting back from Dubai, and the Iman is experiencing some wonderful things called moving. So, but with us today, we always have one of our favorites. In fact, he's been rated very high. Last thing they called him was last thing I saw on his social media was someone said that man knows how to rock a sweater vest. From New Shoal of America, Rabbi Seth Frisch. How you doing, Rabbi?
Thank you so much. And you know, the sweater vest is my symbol. And I never knew that it was so important until you brought to my attention that there is actually a National Sweater Vest Day. So I feel vindicated.
Yes, December. In fact, made famous by President, what was it, Woodrow Wilson?
That I don't know. I thought I was the one who really brought it to civilization.
No, you have given it a great deal of exposure. However, it was really huge and immensely popular in the early 1900s. But so, Rabbi.
Yes, sir.
This war, this war is still going on.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And Friday, for those who didn't see the show, it was a very heated discussion about that. Oh, not heated, passionate discussion about the war. So now what they are saying is that the Ukrainians are starting to take back space. They're actually starting to, they've got Russia in certain areas being pushed backpedaling on their heels. I mean, they are really taking, on a ground fight, they are really taking the fight to the Russians.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's not the first time that Russia, Mother Russia, has seized Ukrainian territories. It's not the first time. We saw this with some of the breakaway, let's call them small republics. And we saw this with Crimea. We saw this already. It's been going on for years. It's almost like the salami approach to Putin's idea of really re-engineering and restoring greater Russia, almost like a czar, you know, appearing out of the shell in the sea. You know, he's the new czar. So it's not the first time we've seen this. It's extremely disturbing to those of us who thought the 20th century was going to end this. Little did we know.
Well, you thought that because we moved into the 21st century that we would no longer have dictators and tyrants?
Listen, I stand on the shoulders of others before me. World War I, as it was ending, they called it the war that would end all wars, right? The 11th month, the 11th day, the 11th hour, and that would be it. And then look what happened subsequent to World War I. So I stand in a long line of people who have been quite foolish about history, because I and many others don't take enough of our ideas, of our information from history, because it repeats itself. So now we have someone who, according to some that I've heard, is looking to, since he's only gotten so far in Ukraine, he's looking to perhaps create two republics, two kingdoms, one would be like North Korea and South Korea, right? You've heard that before. I can't be the only person who's heard that. And the Ukrainians are, they're incredulous. They say, wait a minute, how can you do that? But look what he's already done. And the world blinked. The world allowed it to go forward. No one did anything about the seizure of the Crimea. Nobody. So why wouldn't Putin think he can now do that? His aims, the original aims of the war to take all of Ukraine in a couple of days, those have been dashed. I think that's clear. Many losses, setbacks. But now, is the world going to accept? I think back, obviously, in World War II, when Neville Chamberlain goes to Hitler, and after Hitler has seized certain pieces of territory, notably in Czechoslovakia, the Sudetenland, and Chamberlain makes a deal, and he comes back to England, a big hero. Peace for our times, he said. What about the people living there? Do they want to be part of Nazi Germany?
I don't think so.
Right. So, we've seen this before. It's like a cyclical replay, like a bad, broken record, and the world is watching. Are we going to allow one despotic, tyrannical, evil person do what he wants to do, and when he can't get as far as he gets, then he gets to keep everything he's won at the table? Is that what we're going to allow?
Yes. You know why? Because he's the bully that has got the whole world holding their breath. He's the bully who's got the entire world intimidated. Why? Because he's got the most nukes.
Yeah. And then if you listen carefully, when he accused the Ukraine of having biological weapons, all that told me was that he was going to accuse them so he
could use his own.
Of
That's all
course.
it told me.
Of course.
I mean, look, I think anyone who saw our most recent broadcast on Friday, it's like the Emmy of broadcasts as far as I'm concerned.
Find it on YouTube, Roku, and Facebook.
It's so telling. We had a man of the cloth, and we had the son of a very famous comedian. We had a wise one, and we had someone who was equally wise to we had people talking, and this man of the cloth said, we shouldn't do anything to preempt the downfall of someone this evil because it's unethical or immoral. And I want to say to the audience, I didn't get up on stage and punch anyone, not like, for example, what happened last night. All right. No, I didn't do that. But what I did get up and say on my high horse was, if we had the opportunity in the eve of World War II to kill one man who turned out to take the world with him, kill 100 million people, his own people, Russian people, American people, English, Jewish people, all kinds of peoples, religions, and nations alike. If we had the chance to have killed him, something that you can't do anymore because some executive made an order that said we can't do that anymore, I'm beginning to rethink this. Putin has destroyed half of Ukraine, and he's still going strong. He has destroyed families. He has killed children. He's bombed a maternity hospital. He's bombed a theater with women and children. He takes out refugees fleeing. And he has no right to seize someone else. Perhaps, Vince, I'm thinking to myself, based on what you and I already know, we don't need to argue this out. Is it really immoral any longer? Is it really unethical or bad to talk about the elimination, the termination of Putin's contract with this earth?
Okay.
Is it really that bad? Is it immoral? Am I being immoral as a man of the cloth or as a simple human being? Am I being immoral by calling for his assassination for the good of society, for the good of the world?
Isn't that the same thing that President Biden did?
I congratulated him. I said, "Oh, we're talking about regime change," and then a lot of people, some of people in the Republican Party or the moralists in any party, or all the the people who drink their tea like this, they're like, "Oh, you can't do that." "Oh, I don't want to get my little pinky hot in the tea." These lily white, cushion sitting people on Blue Hill Avenue, "Oh, we can't do that. It's immoral." Really? What is more immoral than what's happening to humanity right now?
Excuse me. Let me bring you back 3 weeks ago when I said, put a $25 million bounty on his head for the first Russian that puts a ball peen hammer.
I'm with you, brother.
God, how could you say that, Vince?
Wait. Context, my friend, context. Sitting there was Dr. Lang, who is military. And she from her perspective said, we can't say that. She can't say that. She can't be part of that because she's American military.
She can't say that.
Right.
No,
Right.
See, she can't say that. See, okay.
Well,
So,
it's
all right.
illegal. It is illegal, but I'm asking the world right now. This rabbi, whose people in World War II, having really nothing to do with that war, lost a minimum of 6 million innocent souls on the basis of their birth, of their race. If I could have killed Adolf Hitler beforehand, I might have been brought to trial. "Oh, you terrible person." You bet I'd still do it to this day. I would go back in time to do that. You bet I would. And I would face the consequences. But I'll tell you one thing, I would never accept the guilt of being, "Oh, you can't do that. That's another human being." No. Evil needs to be called out and it needs to be eradicated. And we learn that, at least my people learn that very clearly from the Amalekites. It says it right in the Bible. Evil repeats itself in every generation, in every century. You must stop it. And it describes evil to a T. Go look up the Amalekites and see who I'm interested in, because Putin, like his predecessor Adolf Hitler, and maybe throw a Stalin in there, and I can throw in a lot of despots over the last 20 centuries. I can throw a lot of them in there. They need to be stopped, and the world needs to learn a lesson. And the people who would do such things to completely innocent people, even less than innocent, they need to be stopped.
All right.
Not the people who would assassinate or take them out.
Okay, so they're negotiating right now. And have remembered the history of Putin. Until now, the negotiators that were at the last conference with Putin's people, have been poisoned.
100%. It's amazing. I mean, how many times do we have to learn the lesson within one chapter of a much wider book? How many times? Fool me once, I'm a fool. Fool me twice.
Shame on you. No.
Right? Yeah. Fool me twice, the world suffers. I mean, Abramovich, this guy, the oligarch, the big oligarch.
I like George Bush's version better.
The world suffers when you fool me twice,
Oh.
So look, the long and the short of it is, it's evil layered upon evil, layered upon evil. How many times do we have to learn this lesson?
Rabbi, does the ends justify the means? That's the big moral dilemma that a lot of people are looking at.
Okay, I don't take
No,
you.
a lot of people want him. A lot of people want him dead.
Pinky stir. I don't take you as that. You and I both served in the military, right? Answer the question.
No, but listen, listen. Yes, we did. And I'm not saying that this is my belief. What I'm saying is some of the conversations that I have heard. Okay, does the ends justify the means? Now, do I believe that, especially after expressing that we need to put a $25 million bounty on his head? No. But I'm asking you, do you think the simple fact of using an illegal method or actually executing somebody's life or assassinating him is justified?
So let me beat around the bush on this one. No.
So the ends doesn't justify the means.
No, but I'm telling you right now, I don't care anymore. I don't care. I'm watching it. I turn on the television, CNN, that's got its people all over, right? And I see mothers crying with their children. They don't know where their home is. They don't know if their husbands are still alive. They don't even know if their sisters, who are also carrying weapons now, they don't know if they're alive. Because if you look at what happened in Chechnya, where Putin and his thugs leveled the country, that's their big win. Look in Syria, where Putin came to the aid of Bashar al-Assad. And look what they just leveled the country. Ends justifying the means? I can't, morally, who knows? I said no because I was beating around the bush, but now let me be straight. When you see that, when you open your eyes and you hear what's being done and seen what is being perpetrated against people, it's time to act. Can I prove that it justifies the ends? The ends justify the means? No, I can't. But I can tell you something. I'd rather take my chances with assassinating Hitler, Stalin, and Putin than living with the consequences of what I didn't know. 100%. And by the way, I say that wearing a collar and wearing a yarmulke. Period. Okay. With the collar and yarmulke, another report is going on that has really been circulating heavily, especially with a lot of people from European countries, because they're watching all of the networks, not just the Americans. Now, a lot of people are upset because in this refugee thing, there are people of other countries that are there, Africa, India, and they're not letting them out of Ukrainian. In fact, it's an eye color thing. It's the white-skinned, blue-eyed people who are getting the actual favor and treatment. I've seen that. And look, it doesn't make me happy, obviously. I don't even have to exaggerate on that.
But where's the humanity, Rabbi?
I can't, listen. In World War II, the nation of the Ukraine, the people of the Ukraine, were not overly sympathetic to the plight of the Jewish nation living in Ukraine.
No, they weren't.
Right? That's a historical fact. Concentration camp guards that were ugly and obscene and vicious were Ukrainian nationalists. There were plenty of Ukrainians that they could not listen to the cries of Jewish mothers huddling their children as they were shot, tens of thousands at Babi Yar in a ravine outside of Kiev. The Ukrainian people were not overly sympathetic or acting on behalf of, and in many cases, collaborating with their Nazi occupiers. They ran to kill Jews. Now, does that mean, given your example, does that mean that I will turn my back on the Ukrainian people? I am 100% Jewish, and I believe in the Jewish nation, and I believe in the covenant with God. I believe in that. And even though people may treat me poorly as a Jew, and they do, I can't even begin to give you the list of poor treatment of my people or myself. But I can tell you this, my humanity exceeds the boundaries of my nation, of my religion. My humanity tells me that when someone as evil as Amalek, if you know the reference, as Amalek in the Bible. Someone is that evil towards a people that may not like my people. Maybe they did wrong by my people, but I cannot drop my humanity. Just because they're preventing Jews from escaping from a ravine when they're being shot, or preventing peoples of color from leaving the country. These are bad people amongst a larger nation. I will, as a human being, or as a Jew, or as both, I will never turn my back on humanity. But I will turn my back. I will turn my firearm towards a despot who orders such things, towards a tyrannist who decides to take out a people. And I see it in Putin. He's taking out a Putin. He's leveling a country. His eye is as cold as ice, and his tongue has an appetite for innocent blood. Should I not act? Is this not now the hour to act? Deny me that. You're a military man before you became a commentator. I was a military person before I became this, whatever I am now, this person I've described. If I received an order to shoot somebody, or if I gave myself an order to shoot somebody who was on his way to killing innocent people, I didn't hesitate to pull that trigger, because I knew in my heart that evil needs to be stopped cold. End of story. No beating around the bush on that one.
Okay, so you weren't responsible for the killing of innocent people or children because you were just following orders.
No, not because I was following orders. I was following my eyesight. If you see it, I love it when the Israelites are in Egypt, right? And they're groaning under the hardship of the Pharaoh. It says that first God hears it, and only then God descends to see it. It is clear of their treatment. And it was a slow escalation to try to get them, let's call them the sanctions of God in the ancient world. It was clear what was going to happen. Egypt is symbolized by the death of the firstborn, because Egypt considered itself the firstborn. No little babies died in the first, even though Charlton Heston had that movie with the 10th plague, this little boys that die. No, there's no little boys that die. Egypt is the symbol of the firstborn, and Egypt implodes. And then its military pursuing the Israelites, they implode in the Sea of Reeds. So what I'm saying to you is it was a slow escalation. Vince, it's time. We've seen this, we saw the invasion. We saw the destruction. We saw the misery. We saw the shooting and the decimation of last night. I saw a little 2-year-old boy's head blown off his body.
Yeah.
Do you need more evidence for your eyes?
I saw that too.
What more do you need to hear?
Yeah, I saw that too. But hey.
But as a military man, Vince, you distinguish yourself in the American military. God bless you for that. God bless you for that. But God also bless us with, in this country at least, with all of our problems, bless us with the ability at times when we've seen and heard at times to do the right thing. We've not always done the right thing. You and I have talked about that a million times, but at times we have acted. And I know you've acted. You've told me about it. Your testimony tells me that you are a man, you're studying to be a man of the cloth. You are a man that knows when evil has crossed the line that it must be stopped.
I agree. And I agree. Okay. However, we haven't taken a break yet. So we're going to finish this up.
Pivot, but okay, fair enough.
Oh, no, it's not pivoting. It's just the simple fact that, we got people who scream when they don't see it. So I got Rabbi Seth Frisch, and we're going to come back with not only the rabbi, but Reverend Dr. Ashelarine Lang. And we'll be back in just 1 minute. Thank you.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need My TV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Okay, and welcome back. In case you're looking at this wonderful panel, it has now gotten a little prettier on set. Welcome, Dr. Lang.
Thank you.
Okay, so here was the conversation. Rabbi says it's time because we've been doing nothing, and we both expressed some of the horrors of the war that's going on right now. And we both expressed some other atrocities. And he believes it's time that. So, Rabbi, are you saying it's time that Americans get some boots on the ground?
Nope, didn't intimate that whatsoever.
Okay, but you're saying, like President Biden, it's time that Putin gets stopped.
Correct.
Okay, how are we going to do that?
Well, seeing as I am an incredible military strategist, and the Pentagon has yet to call on me, so everything I say, it could go one way or the other, Vince.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll if they actually follow your strategy, we'll send them a recording and demand a check. How's that?
Fair enough. As they say, when someone leaves Czechoslovakia, that's a canceled check too. So here we go. I remember in the Gulf War that one of the qualifications of 41 was that he had once at one time had been the head of the CIA. And I think the CIA maybe in that time was very competent, maybe even now. Even though the last guy in the White House before our present president, he didn't really listen to our intelligence services so closely. That was his decision. I think I would listen to our intelligence services right now. And what would I listen for? I would listen for a strategy, because I know, Dr. Lang, even though you as military can't really discuss this to the extent that I would be willing to, I know that it's an executive order that prevents us, an executive order that can be rescinded by any administration. It's neither constitutional law nor congressional law to take out a head of state when, as Vince and I were talking about, when we've seen what we have seen and we have heard what we have heard, and we have judged for ourselves as a nation that this is the same type of person, perhaps even more so because he has unbelievable weaponry at his disposal.
That's not true, though, Rabbi. That's not true.
Which part's not true? There's so many things I said. Which part?
We have went after heads of states, but none of them were in Europe. We went let's see. We went after Saddam Hussein. We went after Gaddafi. We went after Marcos. We went after Manuel Noriega. We went after everybody, but the heads of states that were tearing us in Europe.
I'm with you 100%. There's not an ounce of sunlight between our positions. All I'm saying is that there is an executive order that people in the United States military can't really dance around that. They're not allowed to.
But they did.
No, stop. Just stop me here. I'm talking about rank and file cannot discuss these types of things. There is an executive order. So I'm telling you, I'm not an executive, and I don't care about that order. I've seen what I've seen, and I've heard what I've heard. And I no longer care about these silly little teetotaling laws that prevent us from doing the right thing. We've seen enough. If I said this earlier, Dr. Lang, if I had been given the opportunity in 1939 to personally take out Adolf Hitler and his gang, I would have liked that movie, Inglourious Bastards. Yes, a novel, fiction. I would have taken that opportunity. And I would have done whatever I could do to prevent a minimum of 100 million deaths and the demise of humanity by the year 1945.
Rabbi, Americans only follow the laws when it suits their agenda.
Okay, listen to me carefully. I'm going to tell you something that's going to shock you. I agree.
I'm not shocked, Rabbi.
Elizabeth, I'm coming. This is the big one.
And here's where we disagree, my dear Vincent. We disagree, I think, over the time. And as I said earlier, before Dr. Lang approached and came into our show just now, our collective show, I said it's time to act.
What does that look like, though?
You were reluctant, dear Vincent.
What does it look like to act?
That's what I've been trying to get to.
Okay,
He's been pivoting around that question for the last 12 minutes.
I accuse you of accusing me of pivoting. All right. So here's what I want to say.
Well, I accuse you of accusing me of accusing you of pivoting.
All I can say is if we go back and watch old episodes of Maxwell Smart, we might see ourselves in that little interplay there. So here's what I want to say, Chief.
Missed it by that much?
Exactly. And now it's the cone of silence over all of us. The cone of silence.
Okay.
So I'm going to answer your question. There are a million different ways to stop a dictator. The number one ingredient you have to have in your sniper rifle or your poison, as we're learning from these latest peace talks, the number one ingredient that you need is courage. Not a silver bullet, not a kryptonite bullet, not a snare across the road that they might have taken out Patton with. No, you need courage to stand up and take him out. I'll tell you one way. You make sure he doesn't win this war, and I guarantee you, Vincent, the Russian people will take him out. That will be the switch you can throw. You make sure he does not win, and he does not divide the country between North Korea and South Korea, or Eastern Ukraine and Western Ukraine, as his latest crazy, phantasmagorical idea really is, you stop him and you put the kryptonite bullet in the chamber and you shoot that guy and you send him back to hell that he.
I'll give you another
that
one.
he started.
I'll give you another one. You want the Russian people to revolt? Let some missiles start hitting Russia.
Okay, you're now taking a tactic that I wouldn't even imagine.
Let some missiles.
You can either shoot the man or you can make sure that he doesn't win and they will shoot the man. Those are your choices.
Exactly. Let some missiles start hitting Russia. Now that they got the Russians backpedaling and they're starting to now push them back into a retreat mode because he left them there. Putin and his generals ran out of food, ran out of just about all their ammunition, and left them there. Now that they're starting to get pushed back and they're taking over everything, things will start to change.
Okay.
However, that is a long fight.
Okay. So here we're at a juncture right now where Dr. Lang has entered. We were looking for Dr. Lang. You put the key in my ignition. I started the car. I put it in drive. Then you decide to throw it into fifth gear. All right, fifth gear. And now I'm waiting for the real wise one to say something. So Dr. Lang, I mean,
No. You're not passing this fight on to her. No. We're not going to play it. This is what we're going to do. Next subject or next topic.
You're gonna cliff dive off of that subject like that? That's, by the way, that's a pivot down.
No, because of the simple fact I know when you've been beaten. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about.
I'm going to push the end of Zoom button here now because the one thing, listen, I don't mind being beaten, but you can't fool me, young man. You just cliff dived on that pivot dive with a bungee attached to your ankle. And I'm telling you, we need Dr. Lang in here because I want to hear what Dr. Lang has to say.
Dr. Lang, what do you think?
I think there's a lot going on that we don't know about. And I think people like this type of personality does not just show up in a vacuum. There are some people who like that. There are some people who support that, just like in the United States. There's some people who support that dictatorship. And as long as you have people supporting that, as long as you have people funding that, and as long as you have people making money from that, it's going to continue. The sad news is there's a lot of collateral damage. And unfortunately, they don't really care about the lives that are being lost. And I will say that this whole situation is unfortunate. However, this is not the first time we've seen somebody decide they want to take somebody else's land. The United States has been colonized. Africa has been colonized. The Caribbean has been colonized. And so for me, we're just seeing history repeat itself.
Yes, but why is it always the white people colonizing?
That's an excellent question. Now, imagine if this thing was happening somewhere else. The outrage and the disgust, I don't think it would be the same. You know, you got people fighting in Africa, and nobody.
We know that for a fact in Chechnya.
There.
We know that in Syria. We know that in Africa. We know that.
We know that in Africa, but there's nobody outraged. There's nobody like, go get them. No, it doesn't. It just doesn't have. There's no balance.
I can tell you one, Dr. Lang. I can tell you a big difference.
Okay.
The outrage, I believe, is fear. Because while we saw him in Chechnya and him in Syria, these other conflicts in which people are seizing each other's land and decimating their peoples and destroying innocent lives, the actors in these scenarios, by and large, not always, there are plenty of exceptions, by and large, don't have nuclear weapons. That's why he must be stopped.
Here is the fear theory, the doomsday scenario. Somebody launches, somebody else launches, somebody else launches. So the lucky people in doing all that launch are the people who are directly annihilated or eviscerated by the actual nuclear spread, who are actually incinerated and turned into ash. Those are the lucky people. Then we come into the people who are dealing with the radioactive fallout, not to mention the other people who are understanding that this mushroom cloud that's blocking the sun for possibly 3 to 6 years is about to kill all vegetation.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Wait a minute. Rabbi, hold on. Here's the thing. You said trust intelligence and what the CIA said. The CIA said that they don't believe that Putin has the appetite to push that button. So with that knowledge out, why are we afraid?
It's a really good question.
That's an excellent question.
Why are we afraid? I don't know. Now, by the way, Dr. Lang might say, well, there's people over here.
No, let Dr. Lang say it. Let's hear what Rabbi got to say.
So who is on this fear factor theory anyway? Because it doesn't look like anybody's afraid. It just looks like that some people are in bed with some people who look like them, and now they have to protect their interests.
So you're saying that
if I just believe that if all things were fair and we just put all the cards on the table, if this was happening in Africa, nobody would care.
Oh, no one would care.
What's going on in Haiti?
I'm sure you're right.
Caring about that
I'm
stuff.
sure you're right. I'm sure you're right.
Because they look like me. They look like me getting on the train. They look like me, you know what I mean? So you got people in the United States.
No. There are people trying to leave Ukraine who look like me, but they won't let them pass through. They won't let them through.
Why is that not on the news? Why are we not hearing about that?
Oh, because it's not carried on the American news channels. It was only carried one day, and they stopped it.
Now, why is that?
No, maybe is it a black thing, Dr. Lang? What do you?
I don't know. I think that there's disharmony and there's disunity, and we're like, oh my goodness, look at this whole country, but we're not really compassionate for the whole country, just the ones that look like us.
Well, Dr. Lang, earlier in this broadcast, I mentioned how the Ukrainian people, as a whole, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions, but as a whole, turned their back on the Jewish nation that lived in Ukraine. Oh, they turned their back on them in World War II. They were concentration camp guards. They were thugs. They lined up Jews before the Nazis even got there. They killed scores of thousands at Babi Yar. I mean, the Ukrainians were vicious.
Oh my!
The Ukrainians helped the Jews for the Nazis to get them.
Right. Listen. So Zelensky is like one little line of a family that was huge. All of his grandfathers and great uncles they all died at the hand of the Nazis, not because they were Ukrainians, but because they were Jews. Ukraine turned its back on the Jews, but the Jewish community today, not by and large, but it's pretty solidified. We understand that we have a dicey relationship with the Ukrainians of that generation. And we don't feel like we really owe the Ukrainians of that generation. But what the Jewish community currently does, and we are, and I say this usually tongue in cheek, but I'll say this right now. We are to the other white people of America, we're people of color to other white people. And
that is so interesting to me.
We are another race to Americans, even though we're intermarrying and all that. But our
Rabbi,
are people of color.
Rabbi, let me say this to you. Welcome to the club. I'll show you the secret handshake later, right after we take this break.
I want a decoder ring.
You can't demand that. You're a new member. You don't even have seniority in the club.
No, what you want to say is you can't handle the truth of the decoder.
Oh my goodness.
No. Well, no, we're going to keep this just like when those have converted to Judaism. They weren't allowed through the inner doors. They had to spend some years on the outer doors. You got to wait your
No, it's like getting into Emerald City. You look behind the curtain and see it's some fat old middle-aged white guy pulling the levers there. Trust me, I know those guys.
Okay, so we're going into Ginni Thomas, and
your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Okay, now we're not going to go anywhere because Rabbi is going to continue to pivot on that conversation. So let's go to something else. President Biden did speak and said that that man must not be, he must be removed. Okay. And a lot of people agree with it. Now, they've been trying to have him walk that back and say, oh, no, that's not a policy or strategy. Or maybe it is. Because what comes out of the mouth of the most powerful private citizen in the known free world, most of the time it can happen. But let's look at another situation. He called Putin a war criminal. Okay. Ginni Thomas, shouldn't she be considered a war criminal? I mean, really, how do you go finance, organize, appear at the January 6th attack and be allowed to go home?
That's very interesting to me. I mean, I thought we were trying to get some balance to this country. Like, if it's an insurrection, then how is it that some people that knowingly said they were there, they just get off scot-free?
Oh,
I'm just trying to understand.
Are the prosecutors are they going after the people that didn't go in the building? I didn't know that. Are they going after the people on the grounds of the Congress? I didn't know that.
I thought they were going after the people who financed it, like the people who financed it, the people who planned it.
the people who carry the weapons around, and when you look at the actual, and not to mention before the January 6th insurrection.
Watch them out there.
Yes, I may get a phone call from my pastor, but I'll deal with that. Okay, but she was calling the Secretary of State and a few other people in Washington to have them overturn the election.
Chief of Staff, right? Chief of Staff.
And the Chief of Staff as well.
Yeah.
It's just a double standard. There's a huge double standard.
Well,
there's,
is it
there's
possible?
a different set of rules in this country.
Agreed. Is it possible that she got a walk on this because she's married to a Supreme Court justice? Is that possible?
Could it be?
Is it?
That's a good question.
Well, okay. If she got a walk on this, then how come he never reclused himself? And then
Well,
we got
I think it speaks to his integrity or lack thereof.
or lack thereof. No,
Lack
you know what?
thereof.
You know what it speaks to? It speaks to the fact that we all know who wears the pants in that family. That's right. I said it. Clarence is whipped.
Well,
Is he
aside
whipped, or
from
does he
the-
just agree? Like, is he whipped or does he just agree? Silence is compliance.
Well, yeah, it
Whoa,
is.
whoa. What? Okay, I don't find too many black men that disagree because the Senate is now taken over by the election of a black man and a Jewish man. I don't find too many black men that actually disagree with that. Okay, and if he does disagree with that, then he has to have a huge deal of motivation. Ergo, his wife in his ear. Henceforth, the term whoosh.
So why couldn't it just be that that's just his philosophy and he's allowing his wife to take the fall for it?
Or
Because
there's one other
Eve
possibility
didn't force
that
Eve didn't force Adam to bite the apple, but that woman you gave me. Nobody forced him. Nope, it was his choice.
Now she's hitting below the belt.
below the belt.
It was
Listen,
his choice.
It's possible. Look, there's a very neutral item here. It's possible they both believe.
Yeah.
It's possible, and Dr. Lang, I do think that there's some Adam Eve stuff here as well. I do. I'm not trying to kid you about that or, kind of obfuscate the issue, but I do think that Justice Clarence Thomas, which is one of the greatest oxymorons of history, is in fact completely, in agreement. That's all. He's just completely in agreement about this. And she articulates, and he sits in session after session of the court and says nothing. That's his track record. He says nothing. Could be his personality, but he agrees.
He had a lot to say about that pubic hair that was on that can.
He had a lot to say when Anita Hill was in the office.
Right.
Okay.
But he getting there. But he getting there. Ginni,
high-tech lynching, which is a catchword of modernity coupled with something that is extremely offensive to the African American and the Jewish community. We're the only
No. He gonna wait till a black woman call him out on his BS, and he's been such a white black man, Republican, held up by the Republicans, favored by his Republican wife and their Republican friends, and then when they call him on his bull crap, now he gonna be a black man? Oh, this has been a lynching to me. Really?
You
Cut
can't
that
pull a
out.
card. You can't be a lyncher and then say you've been lynched.
Thank you. Spare me the hypocrisy.
Exactly.
I'm not buying it.
No disagreement there from me. That was my point. That's the card he pulled. He pulled the lynching card, which is, to me, it's offensive to the African-American community 100%, and to some extent to the Jewish community. We're the only communities that got lynched in America because of who we were. Period.
And the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill just got passed. The president just signed it like an hour
100
ago.
years! 100 freaking years!
And this is why, because it's been normalized. Like, you don't have to hang somebody from a tree to lynch him. You can have a figurative lynching. And that has been the case. And those who stand on the side of the lynchers can't pull the card on being lynched when it's convenient.
Look,
There you go. There you
the
go.
author of the Psalm said, "How long, O Lord, how
Yep.
long?"
Yep.
Well, we know how long on that one. 100 years. Now, talking about a whipped black man.
Yeah,
Will
by the way,
Smith.
did you mean to say that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay. Will Smith.
No, really, did you mean to say that? Or did you stumble onto that?
Cut it
I
out.
meant it.
What are you trying to say? I don't have the mental acuity to actually put that together?
Well, you are of a lesser, race, of course. You know
Is it a
that.
black thing,
You're
Rabbi?
exactly right.
Really? Is this what it's gonna be?
Exactly.
Anyway, talking about a whipped black man. Chris Rock cracked some jokes. I mean, they weren't even good jokes, but he cracked some jokes on Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett, who was public about having alopecia and her hair. So when he cracked a joke about G.I. Jane was the simple fact that, that week before, she was on The Equalizer with Queen Latifah being G.I. Jane. So it's not like there was anything.
I think this whole thing was staged. I don't buy it. There's too many.
Really?
There's too many variables. There's too many people
Really?
making money. Last time they had the Oscars, it was Oscars so white. All people talked about was a lack of diversity. So now what do? You want to change the narrative. You want to cause a distraction. So everybody has a price. I just think it was staged so that the narrative would be different. So now, after all these years of allowing black folk to get in and do the show, now all of a sudden you're gonna get up there and make us look dumb. I don't buy it.
So you think it was a conspiracy?
I certainly do.
The white man using a black man to keep black people down?
I don't think it was to that extent, but I do think it was a clever distraction.
Wait a minute.
Because
So let me
Chris
just get
Rock,
this
his
straight.
sales
So you
have
think
gone
that
through
Chris
the roof.
Rock, you actually think that he knew that was going to happen?
I just think it was too, they're actors. They are actors. That's what they do.
Well,
what I don't buy?
I must be one ignorant little
if
white
he walked up
rabbi
there and
because
slapped you, what
I
would you
never
do? Would
thought
you slap
about
him
that
back?
possibility.
I beat him like a one-legged red-headed stepchild.
Chris Rock would have just took a slap like that and it been nothing? No.
Oh, no. If you watched it slow, Chris Rock got, he did actually, after he realized what happened, he did, and then he paused and went back and said, wow.
I know, right?
But anyway, do you think, okay, now, we had a show about this Monday, and I talked to Dr. Wright about it.
Okay.
Now, I thought that maybe Will Smith was actually having a meltdown because he went up there and slapped Chris Rock for talking about his wife.
Why he didn't slap August for sleeping with his wife? Come on.
There you go.
How he didn't slap as many jokes? Everybody said something about his wife with her situationship. They talk about his
entanglement,
all of that foolishness, but he ain't slapped nobody. But you slap him over a joke. Come on. I don't buy it.
Wow.
I don't buy it. You
I
got
must
all
be
this money.
naive.
You
I
didn't have
never
no
even thought
therapy.
about this.
You haven't had any therapy since you left Philadelphia. I don't buy it.
That's what I'm talking about. And then, wait a minute. His wife has the entanglement, but before that, he goes on Oprah and said, no, we don't have an open marriage. Oh, there has been no in our relationship. And then she pops out and, oh, well, I got an entanglement with this boy. And
Nope, I don't get it. I don't buy it. And then people are saying that, now they're trying to say that Jada was controlling all sorts of stuff, but men don't
There
do
you
what
go.
they don't
Now,
want to do.
see, there you go. They're going to point. Black man. See?
So wait a minute, let me get
Y'all
this
don't
straight.
do
Hold on.
anything you don't wanna do.
Can I just winnow this out a little bit?
Go ahead.
All right. So what you're saying is, I think that not only was it staged.
No, it wasn't staged, but she thinks it was.
No, Dr. Lang thinks it was.
Yes.
I think it was staged. I don't buy it.
Rabbi, we got 5 minutes, so you got 1 minute for your point.
Let me just paint myself as either naive or confused.
Well, I'll tell you what, after the show, we'll draw you a map. Okay.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, this is a way to blame Black people for being, unable to control themselves.
Exactly.
Fascinating. I never would have known that.
Exactly.
The first time the Oscars have had
Yes.
a Black producer,
Yes.
okay, an actual sing-along
Yes.
with majority people of color in the act.
Thank
Two
you.
black women as MCs and one white.
Yep.
Okay, we've had more people of color being nominated from the Oscars. Thank you, Spike Lee, for bringing it to everybody's attention of protesting, even though you were never nominated. But this should have been a point where we should have been sitting down, being proud, with our chest out, saying that we have now turned a
Thank
corner.
you. And now what does it do?
Kind of a Cory Booker moment with the Supreme Court nominee.
Oh, don't change
Nobody's gonna
it.
steal my
Don't
joy.
go back. No.
that.
Vince is like
Cory
the
Booker.
guy.
Cory Booker should have stood up for that sister a long time ago. All right, and then he wait till he get there and then grandstand it. No, he should have
No,
been.
when he did, no. Because when he had his turn,
If Cory Booker was that upset, he could have got like Will Smith and stood up and started slapping Ted Cruz.
Okay, just because Vince, you've got a louder voice, Dr. Lang has actually got something.
I
to
know.
say.
What I'm saying is,
And the
what
mute
I'm
button.
saying is that this was an opportunity for those in power to facilitate their inability to make it equal. There was, if you want to have a distraction and you want to be able to justify your marginalization, then you just put it live on TV. You say, now look, now watch, see how they act?
See that? Black people can't handle it.
See how they act?
Right.
He mad over a joke. That's why we can't let him host. That's why we can't give him the Oscar. That's why we can't let him run nothing. That's why we can't keep him in charge.
Right.
That's why they're not
They're
executives.
just an unruly crowd. It's like what God says to Moses. He says they're a stiff-necked people and they just won't fall into line.
Okay.
I think I hear you.
Now,
I think I actually hear you.
looking at it, because it's been playing for the last 3 days, when he said the joke and they switched over to Jada, Will was laughing until Jada gave him that look. Once he got that look, then all of a sudden he was.
Nope.
Oh.
And then he win the Oscar for Best Actor.
Yeah.
All that crying, all that. He's an actor. He's an actor. They gonna say because his dad wasn't around. Come on, man. You got billions of dollars. You didn't go to therapy at all. Nope. I don't buy it.
So, but isn't there something to the fact that that a bunch of these Academy people get together and say, oh, we got to fine him or kick him out, or it's got to be repercussions. If this was all staged, can't he just say, look, you guys set this up. What are you getting mad at me for? I mean,
well, maybe let's look into that theory of Dr. Lang, the conspiracy of it. Then why are they looking at finding punishment? Or if it is actually staged, then I guess his punishment would be a minimum. Because they're not taking the Oscar.
it would be a fine
They're
of
not
some
taking the
sort, I would
Oscar.
think.
And
Although
Chris
the-
Rock is not filing charges.
Although they did take OJ's Heisman.
Oh, that's
It's
right. they
suspect.
did, yeah.
This whole thing is suspect. There's too many people making too much money right now.
I want to admit something to you. I never thought that I would live to see the day that Dr. Lang bumped up and kind of went over the border of being a conspiracy theorist. I never thought to see the day. I literally am.
Well, Dr. Lang, welcome to being a passenger on that rabbi bus. You're no longer riding in it, you're thrown under it. Okay. Okay. Well, On that note, that's our show for today. So I'm going to give Rabbi and Reverend both 60 seconds before I hit the mute button. And since we'll go with age before beauty. So, okay, beauty before age. Go ahead, Dr. Lang.
I would say there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Do your homework. Don't believe everything you see. Don't believe everything you hear. And just trust that there's always something in the background that we didn't see. There's always another side to the story. So just hold on to what you believe to be the truth and just do your homework. Do your homework. Do your homework.
Rabbi.
Well, when I hear that you're setting forth the Reverend Dr. Lang and the Rabbi or Reb Seth Frisch.
You think I'm kidding about that 60 seconds?
It's time for a new show, the Reb and Rev Show.
Yes.
So here we go, Reb and Rev. And Vincent, I want you to know, yes, do your homework, absolutely. But one thing is clear, there comes a moment in time when you've done your homework and you know as a human being, Jew or Gentile, as it says in 3 Corinthians, Jew or Gentile, Greek or Jew, whoever you are, you know when evil has set in and you know when you have to act to stop it. As a human being, I don't care who you are, you need to know that. And it requires a lot of research, but it requires us to act in the name of all that is sacred and all that is holy. That's all
Okay.
Amen, Rabbi.
And on that note, I want to say this. In terms of the Will Smith situation, you know what? Like all men, if someone insults my wife, yeah, I may be inclined to slap the cowboy stuff out of them too. However, at some point in time, you get older and more mature, and you start to act and look into the position in which you're going in. There's no way in the world that 2 superstars should actually be swinging on each other. This is not the 80s rap star fighting for prestige and time on the stage. We're talking about 2 people at the highlight of their game and not understanding what they're representing. The most dignified thing I've ever seen in terms of representing the Black nation was when Sidney Poitier accepted his offer, his Oscar. The most dignified thing I've ever seen in terms of Black representation is when President Obama accepted his nomination. Because understanding the full weight of a particular race is on your shoulders and your every move is watched and scrutinized. It's a heavy burden. But yet, like those before them, including Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Joe Louis, all of them carried that same burden. Yet the difference between them and what we saw with Will Smith is not only the fact that they carried the burden, but they carried it with grace because they remembered who they're representing. As we're going out today and we talk about a war, remember who we're representing. Remember who we are, but most important, remember whose we are. And let's continue that level of dignity and grace that our people are so misjudged for having. I'm Vincent Squire. I'd like to thank Reverend Dr. Lang and thank Rabbi Seth Frisch. And as always, if God's will, I'll be back tomorrow to discuss the issues of our life. Peace.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church